Well, greetings, Boise State fans. Happy Monday to you. Welcome on in. Bronco Nation News live here at BroncoNationNews.com, the social media channels of Bronco Nation News. And also, as we do every Monday, broadcasting live on the social media channels of KTIK, the Ticket 95.3 FM, all the great YouTube and Facebook and Twitter that they have there. So we combine forces here on Mondays with Johnny and Thursdays with Prater. And John Mallory, KTIK, one of the hosts you'll hear 3 to 6 with Prater in the ball game, joins us. And Johnny, interesting weekend. We go from 68 down to 16, and I know Boise State not one of the 16. We're going to talk about that, but it's kind of we've had a couple of days to think about the Boise State loss. Now it's Monday, and we kind of turn the page here.
Yes, the Sweet 16 Monday, right, BJ? It happens so fast, too. You go from 64 and all these teams and all these dreams, BJ, and all of a sudden you wake up Monday and it's just 16 teams left, but for all those folks out there that say that is the number one weekend in sports in this country, I think the last 4 days provided that for those folks. I think those folks are saying, see, I told you so. Because you just had a little bit of everything. But I think after the dust has cleared or settled, I mean, you look at the brackets now, there's 3 number 1s, there's 2 number 2s, there's 2 number 3s, and there's 3 number 4s left. I think that's 10 of the Sweet 16 teams are seeded 1 through 4. So you had some of the upsets. Some got through. Most didn't. But I think we're going to see a lot of this moving forward now where, there's just no gimmies in this tournament anymore. And we saw that over the weekend. And that's a big reason why everybody loves this thing.
Well, Johnny's there in the rowpaint.com studios. I'm here in my home office, but we appreciate rowpaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. Done some work on my garage, on my patio, and we thank them. And they got great rates going right now for the spring. So whether you need your indoor, your home painted, the outdoor, your home painted, you want the concrete work, if you own a business, they can do industrial, commercial, you name it. Give them a call or check them out online, ROEpaint.com. Johnny, we're not really going to break down the game. Obviously, it was a couple days ago, but just what's your general takeaways from Portland, from the game, from being over there, and obviously the press conferences, the game, all that good stuff. Just Boise State obviously just didn't quite have the athletes to hang with Memphis. I think that showed in the next game when Memphis gave Gonzaga all they wanted. In the end, probably both teams were a little unfairly seeded, but it is what it is. You got to win games, and Boise State unfortunately falls to 0-8. Another disappointing but kind of familiar, unfortunate feeling after they go to the tournament.
It was just that one stretch Memphis had, BJ, at the end of the first half, and Boise State wasn't able to catch up. They were close. I thought they played with Memphis most of that game. I remember when it was 12-12. I think Max hit a 3 or something. Can't remember what got Boise State to 12. Thinking, okay, here we go. It's 12-12. This is going to be like every other Boise State game. This sucker is going to be close. And then all of a sudden, Memphis was able to extend it, and they were able to push that, and Boise State just didn't quite have enough. I thought Boise State was, at the end of the season, just exhausted. It got to the point, BJ, where Marcus Shaver couldn't make a shot anymore on the season. And Emmanuel Acott had a rough game. And he was inconsistent from the field. It came down to, as simple as this sounds, you can play, you can execute, you can scheme, but the ball still needs to go in the hole, man. You have to be able to make shots. And the free throws, again, came back to kind of hurt them. And it was what it was. But it was a heck of a season, and I think fans in this town now are excited for basketball. And hopefully this administration and Jeremiah Dickey, I'm sure they will, capitalize off this momentum and make from November to March a pretty darn fun thing to do here in Boise, Idaho, and that's support Boise State Bronco basketball. So all in all, yeah, you hated how it ended. I thought they ran out of gas. I really did. But heck, man, next year's a new year, and hopefully they can keep this nucleus back. I know that's a big talking point from now until whenever the decisions need to be made with this team, but there is a chance, BJ, if they get everybody back and recruit and whatnot, that they're going to be right in the mix of another Mountain West championship next season. And I think that's what this town wants. And this is what Jeremiah Dickey now has to build on. And I expect him to do it.
I asked you before the game, does a loss change how you feel about the season? Now that they have lost and you've had a couple of days to think about it, do you think any differently of Boise State's season because of how the Memphis game went?
No, they won the Mountain West. They won the conference tournament as well. They got to the big dance for the first time in 7 years, and it was a group that the fans supported. It was a group that Bronco Nation got behind, right? They liked these guys. They fell in love with Abu Kijab, and it was tough a couple of years ago. The fans weren't able to watch this team play, right? Or last year, and they got that this year. And I think a lot of these fans might not have been big time basketball fans before this year, and now they are. So I think that's a good thing too. So basketball will be fun. I haven't changed my opinion on this team, and I have a question though. Where does the championship banners go? Where do I walk around on that campus and see 2022 Mountain West Conference champions and 2022 Mountain West Tournament champions? Where does that stuff go?
The practice gym.
Okay, great. I'll be in there 3-4 times a week, I guess.
Well, that's probably
put that in the arena, man.
That's certainly, we're going to have plenty of time to discuss off-season topics and fill space on Mondays moving forward. And that's probably one of them at some point, is the retired numbers thing again, and the championship banners and that kind of stuff. Because you do hope that this is the start of a run where you're going to need, multiple banners here to hang up over the next several years, and we'll see. But just you mentioned kind of what goes from here. And I know you and Prater were on the they got to play Gonzaga or Arizona train. I mean, what obviously, we'll see if Leon's name pops up for any job openings here moving forward. But in the immediate future here, the next 6 months before next season starts, what do you think they need to do? What can they do to capitalize on this success here?
I guess capitalizing off it. It's going to be tough. I mean, if they repeat next year, both those championships, I mean, maybe you get on the 6 line, and then maybe you get somewhat of an easier 11 seed as an opponent rather than a 9 seed. I mean, maybe that's what you do, but you're still going to have to win games in the tournament. And I think we saw over the weekend the difference between an 11 and a 9. I mean, Michigan and Memphis probably isn't all that much, right? They're probably pretty even there. So I don't know what this program can do to go deep into this tournament, but I think what this program needs to do is stay ultra relevant in the Mountain West and become an upper echelon year in, year out basketball school. Do what some of these other schools are doing. Try to get where San Diego State is, where you're in the tournament more often than you're not, right? And some years you're going to win, some years maybe you won't. I do think they should challenge themselves more in the non-con. I would love to see a really big, fat, greasy, chewy non-conference opponent, whether that be Arizona or Gonzaga. That would be super, or someone of that ilk. Not Saint Bonaventure, man. They're a great A10 team. I'm looking for a team full of NBA guys or a big lottery pick. And they can say the Bonnies are this great program, and they can say that Irvine wins 20 games a year in the Big West and these tough programs, but I'm not buying that anymore. I want to see bigger, fatter, juicier opponents, at least one on their non.
How does that help? How would losing by 20 to Gonzaga in November help you beat Memphis?
And well, how does losing to Irvine in November help you beat Memphis, right?
Well, that was a bad loss. Yep, no doubt about it.
Right? I mean, BJ, yep. I mean, they're losing games. So I'd rather lose to Gonzaga by 20 than go down and lose to Irvine. Or, I mean, I don't want to throw the Bakersfield. That was a total fluke. But, I mean, these are tough games, too. And maybe they wouldn't lose by 20. But also, you don't think that if they were playing, say, Arizona in the non-conference, when they go eventually get to the tournament, they can see the speed and the size and the athleticism and at least have maybe a psychological confident level saying, hey, we've seen this. We've played with these guys.
They played Memphis last year. They saw it against Memphis last year.
They did. Sure. That was an NIT game. Yeah. And they hung with them last year. Both teams were a little different, but yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Yes, which as a fan,
you'd rather
play. I just for the program. I don't know. I mean, that wasn't their marquee game. You can still play. You can still play. Probably Wazoo. Probably the neutral court game against Wazoo. I mean, Bonaventure was Bonaventure was top 25 with 5 seniors coming back. You thought that was going to be a better game than it turned out to be. Obviously, they tanked this year. I guess my point is, I mean, it was a pretty. I mean, let's be honest, 15-3 in the Mountain West. That was a pretty they caught lightning in a bottle kind of and went on a crazy run there. Most Mountain West teams with 10, 11 losses aren't going to be getting at large bids to the tournament. And so you've got to schedule smart if you're Boise State. And maybe you get one of those, but for every Gonzaga, you're going to have 2 or 3 of the Bakersfield type games. And I know they lost that. And so I guess you just have to figure out if you want to have the one hard one and 5 gimmies, or do you want to play 3 or 4 semi-tough games? I mean, I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, Gonzaga in Spokane Arena, the same thing you had with Wazoo. Now, I don't know if you can get this, and you probably can't, and that's probably a pipe dream because Leon and Mark, you don't want to play each other, and okay, respect that. But if you had a game like that in Spokane Arena, it'd give the fans an opportunity to go see this team on one big mega road game too. I think
no doubt about it.
It'd be fun for us to talk about, man. But
and it's in Leon's contract, by the way. It's in Leon's contract, by the way, that if they get a guarantee game, if they get a paycheck, anything over $40,000, Leon gets for him and his assistants. So, if he were to go get $100,000 to play Gonzaga, the remaining like $60,000 would be like a bonus check for the assistant coaches and for Leon. So that's only happened a couple times. Obviously, they've only had probably 4 or 5 bye games in his 12 years here. When you think about Kentucky, Michigan State. I guess was Creighton a non-conference game. They played at Arizona once. I mean, there's probably, but I will say this: it's not as easy as calling up somebody and saying, hey, John Calipari, do you want to play us? Now I think the fact that Boise State has kind of put themselves on the map here, the fact that you're looking at probably a quad 1 game. I mean, I think that certainly will help their cause moving forward. But scheduling is not as easy as you think. And Boise State doesn't have the name cachet as a San Diego State or a UNLV, where it's gonna, it'd be a great game for us. I don't know. Yes, would we love to see Gonzaga, Arizona? Yes. Would that be great? Yes. Should it probably happen? Yes. But I'm just not buying that one game against Gonzaga in November helps you beat Memphis. Yes, a couple days ago. I don't see it from that aspect. If you want to upgrade the schedule in general, just to upgrade it, I get it, and they probably need to this year. The games we know for sure, they're in the Myrtle Beach Invitational, and right now you got Texas A&M, who finished strong in that field. You got Colorado in that field, but it's overall not a great field in terms of like the top 10 teams right now going into next season. There still is one spot left. They do have to play at St. Louis and at Santa Clara, so you're already talking about 2 decent mid-major road games on the schedule. So, I mean, the problem is, Johnny, if you're going to get one of those games, you like it to be at home. But I don't think you're getting Gonzaga or Arizona or one of those teams to start a home and home at your place. And if you go into another road game, you're already talking 3 true road games in non-conference. There's very few teams in the country that would do that. So I don't know. That'd be 6 of your 10 non-conference games away from Extra Mile Arena, or 6 of 11,
That's
something like that.
Happen.
So if you've already got Santa Clara and St. Louis on the road, I don't think you're getting another marquee road game. Maybe you are, but maybe you can get them to come to Boise. I mean, like I said, now you're talking about a quad 1 game though for these teams. I mean, you're talking about maybe it's a easy. The system is so whatever where a team could be ranked 65th, and if it's on the road, it's still a quad 1 game. Maybe some of these teams say, "Oh, that's an easy quad 1 win for us," and we know that's going to be quad 1, and maybe you get one of those teams to come. And he's got a lot of friends. It's not just Mark Few or Tommy Lloyd. I mean, he's got Mark Adams at Texas Tech is a close friend of Tim Duryea's. You've got there's a lot of Jamie Dixon is a close friend of Leon Rice's at TCU, and we saw what they did with Arizona last night. So there's got to be some maybe some quality, maybe I don't want to say lower level Power 5, but there's got to be some quality Power 5 teams that aren't just the top 5 teams in the country that still would provide some cachet and maybe willing to come play a home game in Boise. I don't know. It's definitely a good question. It's been a topic for years in Boise, right? Scheduling and everybody wanting them to schedule harder and all that. And I do think this year you probably have a little cachet right now with your name going to the tournament, winning the league, where more schools might pick up the phone when you call, right?
That's the idea, right? And this town, this fan base, they love the big Power 5 level non-con opponent, whether it be football or basketball. But I understand the things that you're saying. I mean, you're not going to schedule more away games than home games in the non-con. I mean, you know how college basketball works. You want to go into conference play with 10, 11 wins in your pocket, and in the Mountain West, try to go, in an 8, 12-6, and hopefully that's enough to get you in some type of position to make the tournament or go on a run in the conference tournament. So, I get that. It would just be so much fun to see Boise State play that big level team. And if it helps them against Memphis in the tournament. Great. If it doesn't, okay, it didn't help, but you still got that opportunity in the non-con to fire up this fan base, which typically this fan base doesn't get fired up for hoops until football season's gone at minimum. So we'll see.
Yeah. Mixed reaction here on the comments. Nathaniel saying they need to schedule better. Part of the reason he thinks they got an 8 seed was having poor opponents on the non-con schedule. And this is the problem, losing to one of them at home, Bakersfield.
Yeah, you called that way back in the day. I'll remember they lost to Bakersfield, and we weren't talking tournament, but as we got closer, you were saying, dude, that Bakersfield loss might really come back to bite them with the committee. And I didn't buy it. I was like, oh, it's one game, one loss. But the more I've seen it, maybe that the committee did use that as, hey, whoa, look at that horrible loss. Let's not put them on the 6 seed because of it. I don't know if that was the case, but you're right. That loss seems to not go away with this team, that Bakersfield debacle. So, yeah.
Yep. No, and the thing is that, could they add one or two more high level premium opponents? Yes. But to talk about Bakersfield and Northridge, literally every team in the country plays those 3 or 4 games against those kind of teams. So
sure.
the Montana Tech or whatever, I get it, that people don't like that, but go check Gonzaga's schedule. Yes, they played Duke. Yes, they played Alabama, but they also played the Prairie Views of the world, or schools you've never. Yeah, so I get it. I get it. You want to upgrade it, but every team in the country plays a couple of those games where you get guys playing time. And this is the Mountain West. This is not the Big 12. They're not going to get the cachet, and we can discuss that's a whole nother issue. What does the 0-4 this year mean for next year? But I think that you're in a position where you have to win games and kind of mix in the games against some of those teams. Nathaniel says get more respect losing to a great team versus winning or playing a poor excuse of a program. Maybe, yeah. Yeah, Perry says we need to be like the football team, go play anybody. But then you have Jordan coming in saying schedule was great this year. Having St. Mary's or USF, WCC would be nice for conference pecking order. Mountain West maybe only a 2-bid league next year. BYU does seem like one that should be happening every year, right?
Every year. But now BYU going into the Big 12, they're thinking, I don't know if we want to mess around with Boise in our non-con. We'd rather schedule Utah Valley.
Yeah, when 18 or whatever, 20 of their games are now Kansas and Oklahoma and some of the schools they have to play.
Yeah, or Utah State. They just want to keep it local. But you're right. If I'm Boise State, if I'm Jeremiah Dickey, I want BYU on my schedule for every one of my programs.
Utah, too, you'd think would make some sense. They had that 4-year series. I still remember you getting on Coach Rice about the non-con schedule, and then Leon going off about Utah being really good.
Yeah, he shredded me in the presser that year. Yeah.
St. Mary, someone's calling for St. Mary's here.
That'd be fine.
Rudy's saying, I say it's a type of team, not the name. Need to play against an athletic team like Memphis, someone we don't typically play in the Mountain West. No doubt about that. But again, you had no idea you were going to be lined up against Memphis. If they would have played San Francisco in the first round, and we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this. So it's one game that kind of changes the narrative because of that. Jordan says he loves the idea of TCU getting some Big 12 teams on the schedule. Memphis is a mid-major that evolved. We want to be like that. We should continue to play Memphis. Yeah, there was actually somebody in the post-game presser. Not sure why the question came up and asking about would you start a series with Memphis since you've had 2 good games? And Leon said, I'd love to have Penny and then come to Boise. Yeah, I'd agree to it right now if they do it. So, that's obviously not going to happen. The Mountain West going 0-4, Johnny Perry asking if the Mountain West was overrated this year. Again, it's so hard to make jumping conclusions, which is easy to do based on the tournament. I mean, St. Peter's wins 2 games. What conference is St. Peter's in?
The MAAC.
The MAAC. Are we going to say that conference was underrated this year just because St. Peter's won 2 games? I mean, no. I get it. The Mountain West flopped. It's an easy narrative. They've had very poor success in the tournament, but you look at some of the matchups. I mean, San Diego State blowing a 9-point lead with 2 minutes left. That's pretty bad. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Bradley, Boise State fans saw him missing free throws. He missed another one late in that game, which cost him. Then fumbled the ball with 4 seconds left. But you had Colorado State playing a Michigan team, and then you had Boise State playing Memphis. Wyoming. Sometimes it's just matchups and things don't go your way, and it is what it is. But it's certainly disappointing for all the hype and all the computers. I don't know if we say the Mountain West tricked the computers this year or what, but certainly the computer numbers were a lot higher. And then, unfortunately, 0-4, another
BJ, they had exit. San Diego State was the 8 versus the 9. Boise State was the 8 versus the 9, and Colorado State was the 6 versus 11. So I don't know if Mountain West honks can say, hey, we got bad draws like You had the
Well,
lower
at
seeds
least
in three of those four games.
yeah, but at least in 2 of those 3, I think the Mountain West team was the underdog.
Yeah, no, you're right. Vegas didn't see it that way. The committee in Las Vegas are totally always on different pages, right? We do this with the college football bowl season too, and I think it's unfair. Oh, this league didn't do well in the bowl season. Told you, underrated or overrated. Like it's a very easy thing to do, and maybe it has some merit. I mean, you saw some of the SEC numbers over the weekend. I think they got one team, Arkansas, through to the Sweet 16. Here we go, Eric Musselman again. The dude just lives in the Sweet 16. I'm just going to put him in there every stinking year in my brackets. But the SEC looked like dog crap in this tournament as well. And the SEC might have the most athletic conference in the country right now with some of the dudes they're getting, and bad matchups or whatever. And this is a psychological tournament, man. These are kids, and they get scared and they get nervous when they're losing because they don't want to go home. And you see it every year where, like, I've watched Auburn play a ton this year. I really liked what Auburn did, okay? And I watch them in the tournament, and that wasn't Auburn. Like, they just didn't play as to who they were. And it's easy when you're in your own gym on a Friday night and everybody's partying and wearing your gear and right on top of the opponent. Like, yeah, it's easier to win those games than some neutral site. You fall down by 10, and all of a sudden the emotions start creeping in these kids' head. We're gonna lose. Oh, what do we do? We're gonna lose. This isn't, oh my God. And they lose. You see it every year. And then you see a team, this is 2 straight years. A 15 seed is playing in the Sweet 16. Last year, Oral Roberts. This year, St. Peter's, BJ. Those guys just go out, they let it fly, they don't care, and they have this psychological edge, it seems sometimes. And we saw it in Kentucky. Those kids got scared. Auburn, those kids got nervous. And it happens every year, and it's part of what makes this thing so fun.
Hey, play Timberstone now that the season is over. A little more time for myself, at least, to get out there and play a little golf. Timberstone Golf Course out in Caldwell, the best greens in the valley. It's not as far as you think. Everyone thinks, oh, it's out in Caldwell. It's a ways out there. It's like barely 30 minutes from the Flying Y. PlayTimberstone.com. I'll be heading out there later this week to try to get a round in. And but they're also hosting our golf tournament, so keep the date saved. June 3rd, the first annual Bronco Nation News Golf Tournament. June 3rd. Here in the next week or two, we'll be putting the registration on sale. We're getting closer to that, so keep the date reserved, though, June 3rd, and we'll be putting the registration on sale for foursomes, whole sponsorships, all kinds of things, some cool special guests that we'll be announcing as well. But, yeah, Timberstone Golf Course, it's one of the best public courses in the state of Idaho. Great greens. It's beautiful scenery out there. Head on out. Kelly Christensen and their staff does a great job. They love talking Boise State with you out there if you're having a cold one before or after the round. So Timberstone Golf Course, make sure to check them out. And hopefully this summer you'll see me out there plenty at Timberstone Golf Course out in Caldwell.
Make T-shirts. Make T-shirts for the tournament. I want a T-shirt, BJ.
All right. Well, we're working with hopefully having you guys out there, maybe doing the show out there.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna have Prater as one of the celebrities that folks can play with in the tournament. You don't play, so maybe we'll just have you out there emceeing the Q&A or something. Yeah, we'll.
Can I caddy for you?
We'll see. I was thinking of having whatever your normal fee is for autographs and photos, just donating that to. We're gonna have a charity involved as well to make some money for charity, and it's gonna be a fun time out there for Boise State fans on June 3rd. Now we got a couple minutes left, Johnny. Let's quickly talk about the roster. Obviously, a lot of question marks. Abu Kijab gone. Milner and Najee Smith, kind of some valuable bench pieces are coming back. You would hope that they would continue to develop and improve in the offseason.
Yep.
But those aren't guys that I don't think you want starting. Those are 6th, 7th, 8th, guys off the bench. This team totally swings on Akot, Shaver, and Armouche, right? I mean, if all 3 of those guys come back, they're preseason All Mountain West favorites, probably in maybe top 25. All 3 of those guys leave. I mean, who knows with the transfer portal, they'd probably try to refill the roster. I don't think they're going to go into a season with who they have, starting. But the team could look a lot different next year. It could look the same. What's your thoughts on 3 big decisions for Shaver, Akot, and Armouche?
Yeah, I think Shaver's back. I mean, I'm sure he has a decent level of professional ball waiting for him overseas. I don't know if it's the top Euro League, but I'm sure he has a decent level of ball there. He's American. That almost goes against you overseas. A lot of teams have a quota of how many American players they can have, which is huge for Emmanuel Akot. He's Canadian. He doesn't count against the American count, and Akot's got a big almost NBA level body. He's not an NBA player. We've all seen that, but I think he's a high level overseas player, especially when he doesn't go against your American quota. He might have some offers. I think Akot could bail on this thing. He's 23 years old next year. Maybe he start wanting. He can't get NIL money because he's a foreign player, which is a big bite. They need to fix that. There's too many foreign players playing college basketball right now that aren't getting a piece of the NIL pie. Football, it doesn't matter. There's hardly any foreign.
And that's not an NCAA. That's not an NCAA rule, by the way. That's like a U.S. government visa thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, then that's a whole nother stuff that's probably not going to be fixed overnight then, right? Armouche, I really don't know. I think there's if they're having the pros and the cons of this thing, the pro is obviously make another run at it. This program's a lot of fun. You love playing for Leon. You love your brothers. The con is, hey, how much money can I make? And maybe there's a high-level Serbian league for Mladen Armouche to go play in. I don't know what high-level Serbian league salaries make, but if it's like $165,000 a year and he can get that in writing and he's going to make $165,000 next year, I think Mladen Armouche probably goes and makes $165,000 next year, and I won't blame him at all. I don't think anybody will. It's weird, right? This team could be in a position where, hey, here we go. Let's run this thing back, right? Or it could be in a position where, oh, shoot, man, okay, we got to dip into the transfer portal. Maybe Kobe Young needs to get more minutes than maybe they would have liked, and you're building this thing around Tyson Degenhart. I think Lucas Milner is going to improve greatly over the summer. He got better as the season went on. I'm not saying he's a big, maybe he is, but I think he's going to have a highly productive season next year. And Najee Smith, dude, get in the gym. You need to hit 40% from downtown next year. You need to be a premier 3-and-D guy in the Mountain West. Shoot. Take 700 shots a day from now until the start of the next season and come on out and be able to bury some threes. They need that out of him.
Rudy says whether E-Man comes back or not, need a true point guard. He didn't have a true point guard, obviously, on the roster this year.
I didn't think that hurt them, though. I never felt that way. I thought I thought Akot and Shaver did a pretty good job there, BJ. But maybe it would be nice to have that. I'm not dismissing that dude's comment, but
turnovers wasn't a huge issue for the team this year. Milner will be great. His iconic block is all I can think of in the Mountain West tournament. Yeah, he had a couple of big blocks in the and he had another one, Johnny, almost when Boise State had cut it to 5. He went, up and met one of the Memphis players, and then the guy just overpowered him and still laid it in, but he almost blocked him, which would have given them the ball back. Final thing, Johnny, we got like 30 seconds, but this is the big one for me, and maybe we save this for another episode, but Kejab, man, that dude's going to be a huge loss for this team.
What do you do, right? I mean, that's what happens in college football too. College basketball, you lose your best players and you have to move on. Not just a loss on the floor, but a loss in the culture. He was the heartbeat of this team, and hopefully, and I would imagine he's done enough to pass on those leadership traits to the next guy. And that's part of the culture. That's what the great teams do. Christian Laettner leaves Duke. He passes it on to Bobby Hurley. Bobby Hurley leaves. He passes it on to Grant Hill, right? That's what the great programs were able to do. Gonzaga is doing that right now. Holy smokes, for them to survive that game. Drew Timme is going to pass this thing on.
I just think he's going to be it sounds like, only have to replace Abu Kejab. I mean, that's easy. I mean, some of the things he does, the intangibles, the second half against Memphis, how he was able to get to the foul line. He just does so many things for this team, and I think he's going to be a huge loss, but we'll see.
If he had another year, if Abu somehow, some way, they could scramble to get him another year, do you think he would use it, or is he ready to get paid?
I think last year he was ready to get paid until he got hurt. So I think, I got some off-season things, Johnny. I want to do some different shows where we kind of take a show and look at each player on the roster and kind of look at their outlook moving forward, how they did this year. And so we'll have a couple Mondays where there'll be a couple players you're involved in. So we got a lot of great off-season content. I want to switch back to football with you next Monday as they resume spring football practice for the final couple of weeks. So we'll try to keep this going, man. I appreciate you. And we'll be listening Monday today, 3 to 6, 95.3 KTIK app, KTIK.com, and download that KTIK podcast. I've got it on my phone. It's the easiest way for me. I just scroll there, and there's the there's the chuckleheads right there, and I can just download the podcast. So a lot of ways to listen to you guys, man.
Past 30 minutes, man. I love getting up early for Mondays with you on this, BJ. And man, it feels like we've been talking for 7 minutes, and I look and it's been 31 minutes. So, hey, man, have a great day. Let's keep this thing going. We'll find stuff to talk about absolutely every Monday, man.
Appreciate it, man. Listen to them 3 o'clock today, and we'll be back tomorrow with Jay Tuss, Bronco Nation News Live, 9 a.m. every day, talking local sports here on the social media channels of Bronco Nation News, bronconationnews.com. Have a good Monday, folks.